It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Love it. Missing Paul Harrell. I hope he's enjoying his vacation. I'm Jan Morgan filling in for Paul. Here at Conduit, the intersection of conservative ideas and reality. We are building a liberty machine, and a big part of that liberty machine is on the phone with us right now. Josh Waters. Josh has been, he was in Fayetteville yesterday for the sentencing hearing, and he's going to be there today to keep us on top of what's going on. And Josh will be filling you in, and he'll be tweeting throughout the day and putting the latest updates on all the outlets that Conduit has, such as Facebook and Twitter and their website, conduitnews.com. So Josh, tell us, what was it like sitting in that courtroom when that sentence came down yesterday?
There was a very serious tone in the courtroom yesterday, Jan. It's all culminating after an almost month-long trial in which John Woods was convicted. Judge Brooks did not hold back in his ruling yesterday. At one point, he said that Woods had bastardized the process of state government. He talked about how his mind had evolved mentally, and that he was basically playing legislature chess to get around Supreme Court rulings to keep the money flowing into his pocket. So a very serious tone was set, and a very serious sentence was set yesterday for former Senator John Woods.
Yeah, I also noticed the U.S. Attorney said that that really laid the groundwork for what we can expect to happen today. Do you expect it to be much the same today?
I think the sentence today for Randall Shelton will be significantly lower. The biggest reason of that is because John Woods actually had a lot of sentence enhancements applied to him under the sentencing guidelines. The biggest one was because of the amount of money involved, over $1.5 million, but also because he was involved in multiple bribes. He was an elected official, and he was basically, the ringleader of this criminal scheme. And so those are all sentence enhancements that really elevated a sentence that Randall Shelton may be seeing today. And so I think that's why you saw the elevated sentence, and won't see as high a sentence today for Randall Shelton.
And notice the U.S. Attorney also said this investigation is not over. This is still ongoing. It also, Josh, Conduit started calling out these guys, some of these very same players, back in 2013, article after article after article, letting the people of this state know, bringing it to the attention of the Republican Party. And so today, it's not surprising that Jared Henderson, the Democrat for governor, brought this to the forefront, and he's blaming Asa Hutchinson for this culture of corruption. How well do you think that's going to play as we go into the November election?
I think it's very upsetting. As a Republican, I'm upset that, not only John Woods and other Republicans, it's both sides, though, too. There are Democrats involved in this, and Conduit's called out both sides for the corruption. And to be, according to Senator Jim Henry, to be compared to jihadi terrorists because you're, calling out and saying what these, Republicans and Democrats are doing down there that's wrong and is against the people's will.
Well, now, for people that don't know what you're referring to, for people that don't know what you're referring to when you said being called jihadi terrorists, that was another relative of the governor, Senator Jim Hendren, who made that statement at a committee meeting, Republican committee meeting. So, yes, Josh, I know you've got to get on to the hearing today. We look forward to getting updates from you throughout the day, and we'll be checking in with you tomorrow on all that happens throughout this. We're hitting a hard break, folks. Please stay with us. Much more to come. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us today. If you're just now joining us, much has happened since you were with us this time yesterday. The sentencing phase ended for John Woods, former Senator John Woods. He was sentenced to 18 years in prison and over, was it $2 million in restitution and fines. So not a good day for Senator John Woods. It was a tough day for the Republican Party, and tough times in general for the state of Arkansas. Corruption is nonpartisan. It's nonpartisan. And whether you're a Democrat or Republican, if you're doing wrong by the people, there was a strong message that the judge in this case sent yesterday. And that message was that the people's trust cannot be betrayed. The people's trust, this judge said, cannot be betrayed without serious consequences. And that was the punch that he delivered with that very stiff sentence. Not quite the sentence that the U.S. attorneys were asking for, but it was awfully close. Josh Waters of Conduit News was there. He was there the entire day, tweeting, keeping people up to date, up to speed on what was happening in that hearing. And Josh, I want to visit with you now to recap for the folks who were not with us during the first hour. What was the general feeling in the courtroom when that sentence was delivered from the judge?
Hey, Jen. Yeah, it was a very serious tone throughout the day yesterday. The morning session dealt with some more procedural issues, but by the afternoon, we heard arguments from U.S. Attorney Dak Keys, who really laid into John Woods in his criminal conduct, betraying the public trust, stealing taxpayer money, and saying betrayal was the worst crime, and using his charm and charisma to ask for people's trust, and then weaponized that trust and then turned it on those same victims he asked to vote for him. So very serious tone. The judge was very clear in his ruling. He actually talked about the depravity of John Wood's heart. He said that he had bastardized the process of state government and had played legislative chess to get around Supreme Court rulings to keep GIS money flowing ultimately into his pocket.
And that entire culture of corruption, Josh, that was so frustrating for the people to watch unfold, and frightening for the Republican Party. It has divided the Republican Party. But, today, in today's paper, the headline in today's paper is that Jared Henderson, the Democrat running for governor, he is now calling out Governor Asa Hutchinson, blaming him for this culture of corruption that has happened under his leadership. And in fact, Governor Asa Hutchinson, yesterday in his press conference said that we should not be making this a political issue. This is not the time or the place to be turning this into a political issue. But at the same time, is there some validity to what Jared Henderson was saying, that this culture of corruption was not unknown to the leadership of this state? Because let's look at what Conduit for Action was doing from 2013 on. Conduit for Action posted article after article after article about ethics issues with some of these very same guys. And then what happened related to that? Was there any repercussion from the leadership?
What you said, I think, was right, Jan, that corruption is a nonpartisan issue. It doesn't matter, Republican, Democrat, Independent. It should be called out. It should never be tolerated from any party, and it shouldn't be brushed aside. And unfortunately, I think that's what we saw, because Conduit, like you said, did push back against John Woods. They supported a candidate against him, and at the same time, Governor Hutchinson at the time held a fundraiser for him. And you look back just this week, it was announced that John Woods offered a bribe to State Senator Jim Hendren. He had never publicly disclosed that. And now these are the leaders down there that are saying they're going to provide ethics reform. And I just really hesitate to trust that. And so, I just want to point that out, because people are now, attacking Conduit, and Senator Hendren has compared him to jihadi terrorists. And they're the ones for year after year after year that have been calling out the corruption, saying it's not right, and trying to do something about it. And now they're wanting to silence Conduit.
Yes, and in addition to the fact that they're saying they're going to do something about it now that it's all out in the open, and it's become a legal issue, and we've got criminal charges and criminal indictments. Now we're going to talk about ethics. But actually, we had some very good legislators try to put forth ethics legislation in the last session. And some of the very people that we're talking about voted against that legislation. Jeremy Hutchinson was one of them, was he not?
Yes, Jan, I was in the gallery for that bill, the one you're talking about specifically, that he fought, that would basically close the loophole that allowed him to take over, it reported over $500,000 from Rusty Cranford, basically in exchange to run bills for him, or to stop bills from coming to the floor that they didn't want. And he went to the floor and worked really hard, and he tried to paint it as, you're coming after attorneys. This would never let me be able to serve in the legislature. And that, just wasn't true. And so it's really, it's really coming back on him now, of course. But I just want the people of Arkansas to know that Conduit has been there. They fought this fight, and they're going to continue to, because it's too important for our state and to ensure that our state sees economic growth and prosperity moving forward. To have the policies to do that, we have to have people we can trust. We have to have people that are going to work hard for the people and not for their own self-interest.
Right, and these cases and all of the publicity that has surrounded it has certainly eroded the public trust in our elected officials. And it's difficult when you're a Republican and you are calling out fellow Republicans who you feel are not towing the line, the Republican Party platform line, and towing the line ethically as well. It's tough. But you guys have done that at Conduit, which is one of the reasons that I subscribe to your website. And by the way, folks, if you haven't ever checked them out before, www.conduitnews.com. I'm not an employee of Conduit, so I can sit here and say this. I'm simply filling in for Paul this week. And so I'm telling you that as a former journalist, a journalist of 27 years, an award-winning journalist, an investigative reporter, credibility is key to me. When I'm looking for a source to get my information, I want credible sources. And I have found that Conduit News is the most fair and balanced and credible news organization. And Josh, I just wanted to tell you that listening to the press conference yesterday with the U.S. attorneys, I thought that your questions were the best. I thought they were heavy hitting, and they generated some of the best sound bites from the U.S. attorney. And the one that stuck out to me the most was, this isn't over yet. And we're not talking about just the sentencing, are we?
That's right. There's several questions, and, the investigations are going across the state. There's already been multiple indictments, multiple plea deals. State Senator Jake Files is in prison right now. And so this is, I was talking to someone yesterday and thought maybe we're in the third inning and there could be much more to come. So the U.S. attorney was very clear that this sent a message to those under investigation and those, who are even thinking about engaging in this kind of conduct that would steal from the taxpayers and betray their public trust, that it's not going to be tolerated, and you will face serious consequences, in this case, over 18 years in prison for former Senator John Wood.
That's right. Now, tell me this. There are rumors out there that some of these guys that are actually going to be facing jail time, who thought they would never actually end up in jail, may actually turn state's evidence and start talking and revealing things. And I thought maybe when the U.S. attorney made the statement yesterday that the investigation is ongoing, that means maybe some of these guys are going to be offering up information that previously they didn't want to share because now it looks like they're really going to jail.
Yeah, I mean, the rumors have been flying for years. It actually came up yesterday in the sentencing hearing that attorneys were trying to get Rusty Cranford to testify in the Woods case. So I think you're going to hear a lot more of people trying to work out deals to get out of their own situation.
I agree. It's going to be interesting times for Arkansas and tough times for the state as well. All right. Thank you so much, Josh. We look forward to getting your tweets and keeping us posted today on today's sentencing. We'll be back with more Conduit after this break.